Good morning, everybody.
Welcome back, everybody.
Joe here.
Kevin.
Yeah, so I think we're coming off the heels of a lot of you have said the funniest episode of The West Wing
I think so. Certainly thus far. I think that was by far the most I've laughed was
on
the
the show.
the
Yeah.
privateers. What was her name?
Oh, Mary.
Cultworth Hay or something like
Yes.
that. I need to look it up because I saw that somebody on Patreon said that they have a friend who still walks in the room and says, "I'm Mary Cultworth Hay," which I think is awesome.
That-
I want to start doing that too.
Yeah. What do you? I think it was Jeff. He was saying that he goes to work. He does that. I'm like, if I did that at work, people would be like, "What are you talking
What are you
about?"
talking about?
Nobody watches The West Wing when I work. It makes me mad.
Also, I looked it up. The woman who played that role,
Yes.
she was Ethel Beavers on Parks and Recreation, the
Yes.
old lady.
Yep.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
She was on maybe 10 or 15 episodes of Parks and Rec.
I never really realized the strong connection to The West Wing Parks and Rec had.
A lot of overlap, for sure. Yeah.
Which makes me appreciate that show even more now because certainly didn't get the references when I first saw it.
Right, yeah.
But no, it was great. I shout out to Allison Janney because Janney, right?
Janny.
Janney. Dang
It's
it, Joe.
Janny. It's two N's.
I'm gonna have to have that posted over
Yeah.
or something. Janney. Somebody pointed out that was acting. Like obviously it's acting, but like
Right.
that's a fake laugh she did, and it seemed so real and believable. Like how many times did she have to
crushed
laugh
that.
like
Yeah,
that? you know?
she absolutely crushed that whole scene where she's standing off in the corner trying not to laugh, but completely losing it. That was a beautiful scene. And honestly, I thought Josh Molina and Mary Louise Parker handled that really well too.
To have a straight face throughout
With
that.
Francis Scott Key. Lovely.
Francis Scott Key. Even that's hilarious. Sorkin's underrated as far as
Sure.
humor goes.
Oh,
Because all of
yeah.
his projects, for the most part, they have some really funny
Well,
moments.
I think Sports Night. I've never really watched it, but I've seen clips or flipping or something.
Sure.
I think it's pretty much a comedy.
And not to mention his riff on 30 Rock, which is not his riff on 30 Rock, but it's his is it Studio 60?
Yeah, Studio 60 on the
Okay.
Sunset Strip. I haven't watched that either.
We haven't watched
it
it
only
either.
made it to season, I think.
But like to think that that's about a sketch show,
Right.
I mean, from what I've heard, the sketches aren't great on the show.
Sure.
But the fact that he can do comedy is, I mean, hats off to him, dude.
Right.
He's one of the best writers, if not the best writer working today.
He's really solid. He's done a great deal of good work. The man has at least one Oscar
Yeah, is it only one? That feels low, doesn't it?
for screenwriting. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's definitely for Social Network, but it feels like he
Right.
should have more. Truly, obviously, probably a ton of Emmys as well.
Yeah, I feel like for Steve Jobs, he should have won a screenwriting Oscar for that as
Steve
well.
Jobs
That's
is
just me.
incredible.
Yeah.
That is an incredible film.
Anyway, we do want to go ahead and also we only had him for a couple minutes. I didn't want to forget that our friend Jean Paul. If we didn't think he was terrible, yeah, if we didn't think he sucked before, they brought him in for about 3 minutes to make him really suck again. I just want to choke that guy out. Is this was a car? Is this a car?
You were killing this.
I'm sorry, I just don't like that guy at all.
This is an amazing impersation.
I
Like,
just don't,
oh
I don't
my
like.
god!
I'm sorry, I don't like John Paul.
Please-
Obviously, he's not going to be on the show much
Please
longer.
do the whole episode like that.
Right. This is coming to give the car to me today.
It's so good.
By the way, I love my French friends out there, but John Paul is a guy I just want to slap in the head. We do want to go ahead and welcome Miara Simpson and Kevin Eldor Patreon Group. Thanks so much, guys. We're very happy you're here with us.
We really are. If you guys are watching this on YouTube for the first time, welcome to our channel.
Hello.
If you'd mind hitting the like button for us, leave us a comment down below, and please hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date on the new content we've coming your way.
If you'd like to see a full-length reaction to this and everything else we've watched or watching, please check out a link in the description below to our Patreon page on every show, including The West Wing. We're at least 4 episodes ahead on Patreon of where we are on YouTube. So if you get done watching this on YouTube and want to keep going, you can do it on Patreon. You're going to have to sneak and watch along on your own Macs or DVDs or whatever. You're only going to see near us for copyright purposes. We are also watching 30 Rock currently as a Patreon exclusive and well into season 2.
Yeah, this is our slap happy Monday. 2 comedies back to back.
Been in The West Wing, which is amazing. All right. We're getting toward the end of season 4 here, so we're almost at the end of Aaron Sorkin's run on the show.
Man, I'm going to miss him.
We assume there's a problem on the ground, and just as soon as they have it figured out, I'm sure they'll wave us on in.
What do you get a job like serving the president on Air Force One? I don't know. Are they military? Or,
It's not going to be on Indeed, that's for sure.
They're going to tell me that the narco-traficantes are running the parliament, but that we should recertify them as an ally in the drug war.
They'll pull up alongside, try to get a visual read.
And then what happens?
If we don't have our wheels,
Yeah.
there are a number of options at that point.
President gets in his escape pod, and everyone else puts on their seatbelts.
Y'all mean so much to me.
Bumpy landing.
You guys got this.
Yeah.
Richard Schiff. I hope we get Toby this episode. I feel like Toby is the real MVP of the season.
I love Toby. I'm kind of wondering with Rob Lowe gone, if I know we have Josh Molina replacing him, obviously, but if the other cast is going to ask to do more now that he's kind of out of the picture.
I'm really enjoying Josh Molina. I really like his character.
Josh Molina's been a lot of fun on the show. Different, and I love how different he is.
Different energy, yeah,
from Rob Lowe.
If they dug a grave for me every time I lost an indicator light.
I've got a plane full of reporters up here. The press can't know this is going on. There are two issues. One is that the Nikkei is about to open.
What are we going to tell them when they see an Air Force strike fighter out their window? That's going to take some thought.
Let's keep the window shut.
Right. Everyone, close your windows.
Do the jackal.
A maintenance truck caused a fuel spill on our runway a few minutes ago, and they're cleaning it up.
There's a stringer we use on the Ivory Coast. He's got double confirmation that there were friendly fire deaths in Kundu.
Yeah, that happens every conflict.
In the toxic provision that there's too much regulation.
It's cleaning up Chesapeake Bay. It's not regulation. And regulation is what congressmen do.
A Republican and a Democrat getting together to solve pollution. I like it.
You were with Landis?
I'm sorry?
You were working with Tom Landis? He's a vulnerable Republican. You can't hand him victories. You're giving him a seat back.
It's a bipartisan bill. It's a victory for us.
Why are you helping one of the most vulnerable Republicans rack up? You're making an argument for divided government.
Divided government's what we got.
I hate politics sometimes.
Yeah, man,
that was ugly. That's ugly politics.
It's so dumb.
Yeah.
Toby, 20 White House reporters are about to see a supersonic fighter jet 200 feet outside their window. It's going to be a story, but I need you to talk to Mark Richardson right away tonight. He's speaking at Brookings tomorrow, and he's coming out against U.S. involvement in Kundu.
Friendly fire happens in every conflict. That's how Pat Tillman.
I was just going to say Pat Tillman, yeah.
Any kind of festival of lights or astronomy. Is there a comet?
They're trying to get people to look out the other windows.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
You're doing.
No, you have to. I screw with them all the time. They're not going to buy it from me.
You're not going to buy it from anybody. That plane's going to be really close. You hardly ever get to see this. It's going to be out the left side of the plane.
What is it?
Got to come over to the left side. Everybody over here. It's coming up.
Oh my God!
Of course, on the right side of the plane is an F-16 Falcon.
Signal, this is CJ Craig. Shut off the phones in the press cabin.
She can do that?
There's a problem with the plane's landing gear.
There's no moon tonight. It's tough for them to see under the plane, but they're still trying.
What's next?
We do a flyby at Andrews Tower and take a look.
Just get right off the tower.
It's like
Top Gun.
Yeah.
I'm not going to broadcast that the president's plane is in distress. It creates very real security concerns, and it also happens to be a world market event. Yeah, they're going to do a mid-air refueling with a KC-10.
What does that mean?
It means they think we're going to be up here for a little while longer.
You guys are good. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Safest plane.
Right. It is the safest plane in the world.
Keep getting refueled for months.
I don't really see that happening.
Me neither. The Falcon's going to give him a thumbs up or thumbs down.
That'd be a cool movie.
Right.
It's like the opposite of Snowpiercer.
But I need you guys to make a small change to Chesapeake.
They're going to destroy the bill.
Well, at least all our friends are going to have some company now. 22nd Tactical Fighter Wing with their missiles armed.
I like Richardson. We don't see him that often.
Congressman, I'm afraid I have some bad news. One of your constituents died today. Gunnery Sergeant Harold Dokes from Bedford-Stuyvesant. Congressman, are you opposing intervention in Kundu because so far it's the black kids who are doing the dying?
They always throw race at him.
They do.
You ever been to a maximum security prison?
Maximum, no.
It's the black kids who are doing the dying there, too. I think the kids
It's
in
not
my
gonna
district are
pass.
going to live longer if their fortunes are tied a little more closely to the fortunes of the kids in Josh Lyman's district.
I think I should know how to do more things here.
No one's feeling useful right now. The Black Caucus is going to back the peacekeeping bill if we back their amendment to reinstate the draft.
He's really going through with that stunt.
Mr. Leo does feel very strongly about that, too.
Yeah, I mean, he was there, yeah.
So I recertify them in recognition of the fact that they took our anti-drug money and went to SeaWorld.
And reported it.
It's a bad look.
Right. It's like, so they're really not our allies.
No.
Why'd you sign up for the Air Force Reserve?
Well, I did it for a lot of reasons, and one of them was the romance of flight, but I got over that.
Caucus chair wants revenue enhancements?
Yeah.
A tax on local business.
A dedicated levy.
This is not going to get out of committee.
Yeah.
They wanted me to make Africa a priority, and now they're making me look like an idiot. All right, pretty soon, though, we got to stop just flying around.
Yes.
The Falcon couldn't get a visual read, so we're going to buzz the tower at Andrews in a Boeing 747.
Is there not like an infrared night vision way to look at the
I
plane?
was kind of thinking that when I see it. I'm like,
Right.
wow. Like,
Yeah.
Find out what happens if I don't certify Columbia. Find out what happens if I decertify Columbia.
They're going to certify because it'll just get worse if they don't. Yeah.
Alex, and they try to recycle the gear, the front end of the plane's going to blow up.
No, you're right. I should definitely let you use the phone.
We say we're going to study the draft.
There's never going to be a draft.
Mark knows that. He wants the debate. We want our peacekeeping appropriation. Everybody's happy.
Find out what considering the amendment has to look like in order for the Black Caucus to stay on board.
Richardson has to know that they're not actually going to go all the way, which we're having the draft again.
Yeah.
There's got to be some
Right?
middle ground here. I think that's what Leo's getting at, is that you find the middle ground.
You can't not recertify them. They're going to be automatically recertified.
Why? Because the deadline was midnight.
It
And
has to be delivered. Yes.
The actual signed paper.
Deaver didn't like that Landis was working so closely with you.
Did those two idiots let the Republicans in the committee know? We're going to lose an ally in Landis.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Well, one way or another, I think we're going to lose Landis.
I say the two parties can't get together on anything.
It's only gotten worse now.
I really like this episode as far as that, yeah.
I think a light didn't work.
Why?
I asked him the same thing.
What'd they say?
That sometimes lights don't work.
It's not going to get out of committee. White House is going to have to pull its support. But there's room in the EPA budget, room in the Interior budget.
You know, if you keep squeezing out the liberal Republicans and the conservative Democrats...
That's beatable.
You know, a friend of mine's a comedian. A bunch of people from the German consulate came down to see him. To him, how come we don't have anyone as funny as you back home? And my friend said, because you killed them all.
I take his point, though.
Yeah.
This isn't new. The Union Army had a draft that you could buy yourself out for $300. If you have money, you have a greater life expectancy across the board.
Yep.
I'm going to call Sergeant Doak's family now.
I wouldn't even consider that Toby was almost in Vietnam.
Yeah.
I'd like to stay if you don't mind.
No. Let's stay standing.
What?
They got the indicator light. They recycled the gear and the light went on this time. We're landing.
Signal, this is CJ Craig. Please turn the phones back on in the press cabin.
I know. I'd be like, I need to shower.
If you have the rear wheels, you can try a hard landing where you come down hard on the back wheels in an effort to whack the front into place. If you hit it wrong, the plane breaks in half.
It just suddenly worked?
True. She's been shot at once, and now this.
No, really, yeah.
And she had to have a Secret Service agent protecting
She
her.
had a stalker.
Yeah.
For those keeping score, our total flight time will have been 22 hours and 13 minutes using 3 separate flight crews along the way.
That's why I'll never go to Australia. The flight's like a day.
Actually?
Yeah, it's like 20-something hours from where we are.
If I'm going there, I'm staying there.
Right. I would love to go to Australia. I think it's probably lovely, but a 20-hour flight.
Andrew's approach has asked us to abandon our descent, make a 30-degree right turn, and maintain our current altitude.
Oh my God.
That's hilarious.
Martin looked like he was going to go up and kill the guy.
Yeah. That is actually hilarious.
Pretty
I was
funny
like,
way to end that.
I was thinking, I was like, I really hope we end the episode with them landing the plane. That's, there you go.
That's the.
Yeah, that's the West Wing
Never
point.
mind, something else went wrong.
Yeah.
It's too windy.
that really is the show. That
All right.
Something else went wrong.
What's next?
This was a great episode about the middle ground, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I really liked the moment between Josh and the Republican, right? If we keep wedging out conservative liberals,
if the only people who are safe are extremists, guess what's going to happen? Everyone's going to run to the extremes, which is where we are now.
I was just going to say
that's
literally
what's
where we are
happened.
right now.
Yeah,
And I hate that. I hate that there's no middle ground for us to just talk about things.
Yeah, there's very little compromise now.
I'm tired of the. It's there now, but like,
Sure.
we demonize Republicans, we demonize Democrats. It's like, can we just realize that like we all should have the same goal?
Well, I mean, sure. But if you look at Twitter, it's like everything.
Yeah.
Everything's extremist, right? We can't
Of course.
disagree. We can't disagree on certain issues. We have to call each other names over the issues, right?
And if you think about it, like there's certain news outlets that are made for a certain demographic, and it ends up stirring the pot, and it puts these ideas in people's heads.
Well, echo chambers, right? Everyone has their echo chamber now. There's just that's what it is. That's what the news media is now, is echo chambers. No one turns on their local news and everything's even keel.
I would hope that there would be, hopefully one day, there's a credible news source that is the middle ground.
Well, there are, but it doesn't matter.
But we don't pay attention to it now because of Twitter.
NPR is a completely credible news source, right?
Absolutely. That's a good example. I just mean as far as like Fox News or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's just people choosing not to have. They're terrible, but that's people choosing not to have unbiased news sources. People turn on the news they want to hear. You want to hear Tucker Carlson say that, what Tucker Carlson says. You want to hear Rachel Maddow say what Rachel Maddow says, and everyone on every other extreme and in between.
And I don't like Tucker Carlson at all, but wasn't he fairly liberal when he first started going on TV? Wasn't he like the liberal on Fox? And then obviously that just went off the rails.
No, I think he was the conservative on Crossfire.
Okay, I got it mixed up. Okay, you're right there. Yeah, for sure.
I think I could be wrong. I don't care.
Exactly. At this point, it's like, who cares?
Tucker Carlson's not a newsman. He's a brand.
The last 10, 15 years.
His Moscow interview proved it.
Sure.
But at any rate, let's get back to the point, which is this episode, which was, really well done on highlighting that, about cautioning against extreme positions. Sure. Because we dealt with the Black Caucus also taking an extreme position. Yeah. Right? And it's like, no, Toby and Leo saying, you're going to have to give them something, but there's got to be a middle ground. Josh trying to find a middle ground on the Chesapeake Bay cleanup, and sometimes it works, and sometimes people are like, no, we don't want middle ground. We're out for blood.
It's in DC, especially. It's all about what's in it for me, right?
Yeah,
what's in it
for
for
sure.
my
Right.
party.
It's there's an ugly side of ambition that we see on this show. And in this one, we got to see the Republicans and the Democrats both being kind of gross about a guy who is a moderate. You get to see
He's like a totally nice guy too.
Oh, right, for sure.
But yeah, it's it's sometimes you're just left hanging in the air.
Yep.
Quite literally in this sense, I guess. But I like that this show takes a light approach to it as well. It's not overly dramatic. It's not like House of Cards.
Oh, House of Cards.
It's fiction. I'm just saying, but that tone. This show could easily be that tone, but it's not. You know what I mean?
House of Cards should have just been called Jump the Shark. Is what the whole show should have been called. I mean, it was. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
It's not a realistic show compared to this. You know what I mean?
It's not a realistic show compared to
anything.
Yeah, to Chronicles of Narnia. It's realistic.
Yeah, isn't his wife the VP?
Yeah, it goes off the rails probably about an episode and a half into the run, but. This is obviously significantly better, and no, I don't think this is like a show overly grounded in reality. People don't talk the way they talk on the show. This is very much idealized, highbrow, smart people trying to do the right thing. This is always how it works,
with a tinge of realism, though.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It is it still stays in verisimilitude, right? It does. Sure. People like going back and watching it specifically because this is the way the world should be.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone forgets the way the world is. That's why it's still a popular show. We have politically a really ugly planet right now.
We do. And I just like that it's not overly dramatized. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I like that it does have light moments where people can actually have long-winded conversations about these issues.
Yeah,
that's why I loved the Josh storyline this episode.
Yeah.
The plane situation was really great too, between Will and Bartlett. That was really good. I just, like I said, I'm glad the show was not overly dark and Machiavellian and just down your throat nonstop.
Sure.
And the fact that Sorkin can write Republican characters in a way that doesn't demonize them is fantastic.
Yeah,
and often Ainsley was one of our favorite characters in the show.
Sure.
Which is right.
I mean, it's definitely from its period though. Back when, this is back when we were kind of losing that ability to be
one of the most
reasonable.
Republican times,
right? Yeah, and now it's like, if you wrote this show now, there's no way that it would be like we can all get along. Like
it'd be black and white.
That show can't even be written now, unfortunately, because of the world we live in. Yeah. But I'm glad this show's here now.
Me too.
Right, we'll catch you in the next one, guys.
See ya.